Family and friends gathered on the docks of New York City, bade adieu, and cried out Godspeed to the 8 young missionaries departing on the SS Admiral on this date, the 17th of August, 1895. Their destination, Mombasa, Kenya. Their leader, Peter Cameron Scott, had dreamed of establishing a chain of missionary outposts to facilitate the spread of the gospel across the continent. Now, Scott knew this would not be an easy endeavor. 4 years earlier, when he was only 24, he laid to rest his own brother on the River Congo as they had taken part in a different mission. He built the coffin with his own hands and laid to rest his precious brother. Back in the United States, demoralized but not defeated, Scott put together another team for this mission to see these outposts established. And the team would see trouble after trouble as they headed across the vast African continent, from terrible weather conditions to terrible drought and bouts of heat, to difficult diet, to dangers from the jungle, and also much hostility from African tribes. These young missionaries pushed on, and 3 outposts were established. Peter Cameron Scott left members of the team to man each outpost as he continued all the way through to Lake Chad. He had walked more than 4,000 kilometers to the interior of the continent. And in December 1896, 14 months later, 14 months after the departure from Mombasa, Peter Cameron Scott contracted blackwater fever and died in Africa. This tragic end at age 29 was accompanied by the death of many others of his team as well. Still others simply gave up and went back home. But it's not the end of the story. One of Peter Cameron Scott's colleagues, Charles Hurlburt, he took up the torch. He raised funds. He got political backing, notably from President Theodore Roosevelt. And many young people stood up and said, I will go to continue this vision in Africa. Many young people went back to this continent, and it was the beginning of what is now known as the Africa Inland Mission, which today has founded thousands of churches throughout Africa, many Bible training centers, and the Africa Inland Mission had its beginnings from those 8 missionaries who left the docks of New York City. Now, many of the new recruits showed up on the docks with their personal effects in wooden coffins that they brought with them to Africa. So sure were they that they were going to give their lives for Christ on the dark continent. This gesture of total sacrifice and of concern for their spiritual well-being melted the hearts of many of the African tribes who had been so hostile in the beginning. And a new era of evangelism began throughout the continent. The spiritual descendants of Peter Cameron Scott. And I think about how sometimes I have trouble crossing the street to bring the gospel to my neighbor.